Greetings and welcome to the Computer Studies Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Stephen Elliot, and back with me is once again my favorite student,
Dan Rau.
We're going to be doing another one in our series of game tutorials. Tonight we're going to be looking at Artemis, a game that kind of rises and falls in popularity among the students. We're going to walk through each of the different stations because the cool thing about Artemis, as you well know, is a Starship Bridge simulator, which means that everybody playing the game is fulfilling a different role. Now, you'll notice there's just two of us here, Dan and myself, so we're going to be playing several different roles. I'm going to take the role of the captain, but unfortunately the majority of our crew was knocked out by Romulan gas.
Or Josh in engineering.
Or Josh in engineering. Josh killed all of our crewmates. Go watch that video. Somehow I'll figure out how to put a link. Something. Anyway, so Dan is going to be filling in as our helmsman, as well as engineering. I'm going to be playing the role of the captain, the weapons officer, the science officer, and the communications officer. So we're going to each show you those roles, and this is mostly, we're playing on level 1, so it should not be difficult at all for us to do, I hope. Mostly just trying to show you guys the controls, how this game is played, how much fun it can be.
Yep.
So let's go ahead and get the game started.
Oh, look at you with that.
Wireless mouse. All right, so on the main screen, which is, for us, it's the TV that's up at the front of the room, we can actually see the ship. Do you see the ship?
There's our ship.
I was like, we're invisible. Okay, there's our ship. So we can actually see our ship third person. We could also change that to a first person view. But that's not on our screens. Now we'll cut over to our screens. There we are. We have much different screens. And on my screen, we've got the weapons look, which just to give you, actually we'll do helm first. So to give you an idea of what's on helm, Dan, if you want to give a quick little walk around the helm.
Yeah, so helm, what you see is basically a radar screen. You'll notice here that you have your center pointing in a certain direction. That says if I go forward, then that's the direction I'm going to end up going. And then you'll also see an arc here, which is the arc of our weapons. So our main weapons can fire in that arc. The way you turn is by just clicking somewhere on the screen within this radar here, and it'll take you to that degree mark. So if your captain says make heading 280, then you're going to click on 280, and you're going to keep on turning until you hit 280. You also see other things on the radar like bad guys, which will come on as red little ships. Or you also see DS1, DS2, DS3. Those are our docking stations. Those are the things we're trying to protect. And other such things like meteors and other obstacles.
So when you're moving,
yes,
you got your gauges down there on the left.
Yeah, so down here on the left, you'll see here that you have a little yellow guy. This is your impulse power. This is going to be moving you slowly in a particular direction. When you're fighting, this is the area that you're using, or if you're coming up on a station for some reason or investigating something, that's where you're using. Or we have our warp drive, which is the green guy.
I want to comment on the impulse. You can also increase and decrease, I believe, with W and S.
Yes, you can. So if I hit S, I'm decreasing. If I hit W, I'm increasing. Did I say increasing for both?
I don't know.
W is forward,
S is down.
S is down, which makes sense.
At least you said WS. I usually say like walk forward with A and walk back with
A and D you can also use to turn left and right, but that will keep you turning in that direction forever, so it's just easiest to turn and just
click.
Make it just click. It's much easier. So if I go warp drive, if I go up to warp 1, you'll notice I start to go really fast in that direction. If I go warp 2, I'll go even faster. And warp 4, you're going really fast.
DS1. Yep. Okay.
Yeah. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to start coming back to DS1.
Can you make your bearing real quick? 243.
243?
243.
Absolutely, sir. And we're going to just start heading there at impulse power until you tell me otherwise.
All right.
You also see on my screen that we have reverse. So if you want to go backwards, you have to click reverse. And
very tactical. If you have a really powerful forward weapon that has really good range, you can just nose up next to a ship and just kind of back away from them slowly while your primary beam hits them. Kind of useful.
Something to notice, if you can't warp for some reason, either A, you have no energy, like you have no gas in your engine, Or B, what's more common is you're in reverse. You can't warp backwards.
Yeah, warp backwards.
So make sure that reverse isn't clicked in that case.
What's that other button you've got there?
This other one is really important. It's called shields. If we go into battle and shields are not up, everyone will hate you. So please make sure shields are up when you're in combat. When you're not in combat, take shields off so you're not using up energy. If I come in here, if I make my heading towards DS1, you'll see on my radar. And I'm going to just impulse to 1 really quick and impulse to 0. Warp, excuse me. As I come up here, I can start to click request dock, which I believe that you have to be 500 meters, yards. I'm not sure what the unit is, but you have to be within 500, and you'll notice that I'm going to start to automatically dock, as you can see on the main screen. And once we're fully docked at 0 meters, then we'll start refueling, we'll get weapons, and be able to recharge up. Yeah. A note on multiple of the different ones, or the different jobs that you have. Some jobs have in the top right hand corner, as you can see here, controlling the main viewer, and your captain will tell you, helm rear or view. Whoever, I want this to be in rear view, and all of a sudden you're looking behind you, or front left view. You can look out front to left side.
I said front view.
Front view. Excuse me, captain. You also notice here we have TAC, which stands for tactical, so you can see the tactical view of our radar around us. Long range scanners, same thing, just you can see the entire map.
You'll notice we have a radar.
And info, as you can see, our entire ship, the different damage points on our ship, what's damaged, how much energy we have, how many crew we have, and where they are, such things as that. But for the most part, you're going to be front view or long range tactical view.
Go back to info real quick.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about this again when we talk about the engineering station, but you'll notice each of those light blue circles is a different system of the ship. This is one of the cool things I think about Artemis, is that you actually have systems scattered throughout the ship, and based on where you get hit, where shields go down, where enemies end up hitting you, it impacts different types of systems. So you might lose phasers, but torpedoes are okay, or you might lose warp engines, but weapons still okay. Anyway, we've got an enemy that's about to attack DS4, so we should probably go take that out while I'm explaining the weapons console. So if you could make your bearing 254, and give me just a little bit of warp 1. And while we're heading over there, you can switch to the long-range scanner view if you want to see where you're headed.
I would appreciate
On the weapons screen, it looks very similar to the helm screen. You've got your compass rose here. You've got some information off on your top left, cam controls on the top right. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the shields as the weapons officer and captain. But you'll notice a big difference is I can't click and turn. I click to target as the weapons officer. Okay, there's DS4, so we're getting pretty close to our enemy. I'm going to go ahead and load some weapons. You'll notice I have a variety of weapons at my disposal. Homing missiles are going to be the most common. I'm going to go ahead and target him. By targeting him, it allows our primary beams to actually shoot whenever we're in range. So as long as that enemy is within our firing arc, our primary beams are going to go ahead and shoot at the enemy. And so Dan's job right now as helmsman is to keep us outside of the enemy's firing arc, but keep the enemy inside our firing arc. Now I also have missiles, which I'm going to go ahead and load up some homing torpedoes. Sorry, not missiles, but torpedoes. I can do that by selecting a certain weapon type, loading it up. Since we're having fun, let me also load an EMP. Takes some time to load up some weapons unless you've got a good engineer who can bump up your weapon system. All right, and with a targeted enemy, once I have a torpedo tube loaded, I can go ahead and fire over an EMP, and we'll see what happens with that. And do you want to put the front view back on while we're in combat so that we can kind of see what's going on here? I'm going to go ahead and fire the homing missile. Whoosh, boom. Okay, and then I can go ahead and reload. I'm going to go ahead and put some homing in there. Another thing, the science officer can tell you what shield frequency is weakest on the enemy ship. So right now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to frequency E. I do that over on my right-hand side as the weapons officer. And that way my primary beams are actually hitting him with the most effective frequency of laser. There he goes. We just blew him out of the water. Okay. So now my job as the weapons officer is kind of done for a little while. So I'm going to go ahead, actually before I leave this, 2 special buttons. took the shields down?
I did.
Good.
I'll put it back up.
That's fine. Okay. Shields use energy, right? And your energy's up in the top left corner there on both the engineering, the helm, and the weapons officer. I'll get to see that energy. On the right-hand side of the weapons screen, if you need more torpedoes and you have a surplus of energy, you can actually convert energy into torpedoes using your replicators, of course.
Obviously.
Okay? And vice versa, you can recycle torpedoes into energy using your replicators, of course, with the torpedo to energy. So if you find yourself dead in the water, hopefully you still have some homing missiles that you can go ahead and turn back into energy. So let's pop over to science real quick. I'm going to jump over to science. Science has...
One really quick thing. Yeah. If you'll go back to your weapons there, this is something for both weapons and helm, is the zoom button. So if you're zoom 1, you're really close. Zoom 4, you get out. This is really important as you're as you're like moving from place to place. So if I'm warping somewhere really fast, I want to have a much larger field of view so I can see where things are at.
Good point.
Combat, you want to be much closer.
Indeed. So, yeah. All right, I'm going to move over science now.
Absolutely.
Okay. So science, you get a map of the entire sector. The sector is mapped out in a 5x5 grid. You'll notice the yellow docking stations. Those are kind of your home bases that you're trying to protect. There are also enemies. Now, these are enemies that I've scanned. They show up in red. These are enemies that I have not scanned. And in fact, I don't actually know that there are enemies. There are game types where there are neutral forces and friendly forces that I may not know about. But in order to scan an enemy, I can simply click on it and click scan. And it will take a little bit of time to scan it, but once it does, it will show up as the type of enemy that it is. The science officer is one of the most important jobs on the ship because the science officer can give the captain information about where the enemy is, how strong the enemy is, and what might be at risk. Right now, I don't have too many enemies that are close to a docking station, but look at this N82 down here. He's getting pretty close to DS2. H03 is getting pretty close to DS3, so I may want to deal with one of those enemies before they can get within striking distance of my docking station. You'll also notice this group up here. There's multiple ships here, okay? And this could become a problem if there's a large force. Now we're playing at difficulty level 1, so none of these are particularly difficult. But if we're playing on a higher difficulty, there might be multiple ships in a group. There could be up to 8 ships in an armada, and some of them might be pretty beefy. So we might want to be very careful of those fleets. We might want to engage them with multiple ships ourselves, etc. There's actually 3 ships in this group here. You want to go nuke them?
You want to go get them?
I kind of wanted to go nuke them.
All right, let's go do it.
So set your bearing 314.
Yeah.
And let's go see what a nuke can do to this little group of ships. And while I'm in engineering, go ahead and at your leisure warp over there. So science needs to scan each enemy vessel twice. The second time they scan, they'll get more information about their tactical stance. So, for example, this guy's shields are weakest on D, so I'm going to go ahead and change my auto beam frequency to D. Notice with the auto beams, that's a toggle. You can turn off auto beams if you would prefer to target vessels manually. A little bit more difficult. I tend to use auto beams all the time. So yeah. Luke Peterson, though, I think does manual targeting. He likes the shooting aspect. Yeah, he's pretty cool like that. All right, so I've got 2 homing in the tube. So I'm just going to go ahead and target, drop out a warp. I'm going to target an enemy.
I'm going to get shields up.
Another enemy. Shields up, yes, oh, please. And then I'm going to load a nuke, which is going to take a little bit of time.
I'm going to just keep us out of there.
Sounds good. And as soon as they are... As soon as my nuke's loaded, I'm going to send it at the middle group there. Can you get the viewer back up?
Absolutely. Let's go right view because they're over there.
And so firing the nuke. And that should just decimate at least one, if not both. Wowzers.
Oh, that's pretty.
Another cool thing, I'll go back to the science real quick. So with those ships, I can actually see... if I do a scan, it should tell me damaged systems. So it doesn't tell me what's down. I thought it did tell me what was down. Huh. All right, well, let's blow that thing to smithereens then. Yeah. Oops, I'm in. So this is the targeting mode. This is pretty cool because I can see which systems are where. And so if I want to disable a specific system, I can do that. So here I am, I'm shooting very specifically. So at the ship, and I can target very specific things. It's kind of cool. Now the ship's way too close. Let me turn auto beams back on. Fire a homing missile. How is he not down?
I don't know.
Alright, let's go back to auto beams. Let's see. Propulsion. Let's see if I can blow him up with propulsion. So if you can turn just a little bit more, there we go. That's kind of fun. I see why Luke likes it.
I've never noticed that or known that before. How's he not down?
That's cool. So I've got a little indicator here as to when my beams are charged. So I've got 2 beams.
There you go.
Goes. That's really cool. I might do that from now on.
Where was that?
So the auto beams, if you turn those off and then you target an enemy, it switches into a scope view.
Oh, that's so cool.
And then you can target specific systems. That's pretty neat. Okay, back to science. So again, we can engage various enemies with science. What else do you have? You got engineering. Why don't
I
you
got
talk about
engineering. Engineering is very important. So basically, your main thing is, yes, you have this cool 3D version of the ship, but the main thing you're worried about is power. Where does power go, and how do we manage those resources?
And so you've got sliders for overclocking systems.
Exactly. So you'll notice here, each of these systems is currently at 100%. If a system is at 100%, it doesn't need any coolant to make it work at that level. So never keep anything below 100%. But you'll notice here, if I go, where's maneuver? Maneuver is something I'm using right now. If I put this up, you'll see here, the little indicator here says that things are starting to heat up, heat up, heat up, heat up. It needs coolant. So the way I can give it coolant is, number one, I can bring it down. So it's not going to overclock and blow up our ship. But you have these little circles here on the side. If it is white, that means that you have coolant, and that much coolant in here. You have up to, how many is that? 2, 4, 6, 8 units of coolant that you can use. But notice, as I use coolant here, I cannot distribute it on other systems. So typically it's a good idea to have it fairly spread out, as you'll see here, and then you can have things a little bit above 100%. As things get too hot, if they do get to the point where they're red, that area might blow up, it might get damaged, and people might die, as does happen on occasion.
Go ahead and overclock.
Don't let that happen.
Let's system real quick.
Let's overclock this. And
I was going to use something that we didn't really care about, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Okay, so it starts and you get this nice overheat condition. It blows up, and then you'll notice off on the left side that maneuver is now at 75%.
Yep.
And it blows up again. Now it's at 50%. Go ahead and take it down because, yep, you just killed one of your damage control team members, as Josh did to many of his. So the little white diamonds that you have are your damage control teams. They can move either autonomously or you can tell them where to go in order to repair systems. So if your engines go down and you're trying to get away and there's other systems that are damaged that they keep trying to repair, you can tell them, go fix the engine so we can leave. That's kind of an important thing.
Exactly. So managing that is absolutely critical, and knowing when to manage or which one to boost at any given time is absolutely vital. It's not a system that has to be run, but if it's run well, it can make all the difference. So, for example, if we're in a battle, you're going to want to have a lot on your primary beams, and you're going to want to have a lot on your torpedoes and possibly maneuverability, depending on your ship, because that's what you care about. You don't care about the warp drive. You're not using the warp drive. Maybe a little bit. I like to use it a little bit.
Until you need to get out of there.
Yep.
We got a ship we got to deal with real quick.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead.
Oh, and you'll also notice that if something's at 0%, you can't use it.
Yeah.
So if I try maneuvering right now, nothing's going to happen. All right, yeah, so let's come back here to helm. Give me a heading, please.
Heading 91. Make it 90, because by the time we get over there, it'll be a little bit lower. No, sorry, 93. I know how compasses work.
Sounds good.
Alrighty. And I'll let you know if you want to switch the main viewer back to the front view, bring up the shields.
Yeah, we can do that.
And you should see him on your scope pretty soon here. There he is. Drop out a warp.
Hello.
And I'm just going to go ahead and take two homing missiles at him. And then I'm going to turn off the auto beams, take out his weapons.
Bad job of saying off his thing, but really I just want to finish him off.
That is pretty cool. I got to say.
That's pretty cool.
So I think his weapons are down at this point because he's not shooting back at us.
Hey, there's a wreck. What do we do?
So I target the wreck with auto beams. Blows it up, and sometimes we get special power-ups from wrecks, but not always.
Go collect them.
Okay. What else? Oh, comms. Let's talk about comms real quick.
Yep.
Wow. There's a lot going on. I haven't seen anything. Best thing to do with comms is to just have a red alert all the time.
All the time.
Just leave it on.
Constantly flash it to your teammates.
Which we can't hear right now because we don't have audio coming through our speakers, but if we did, it was pretty terrible. All right. Anyway, communications allows you to communicate with other players, with enemy ships, with base stations, as well as other ships that are within your own fleet. So the most important thing that you need to be able to do is to request more nukes. Okay. So
Always.
If I click on station, it brings up a list of the stations that I can talk to. I'm going to talk to Station 1, and there's all of these things that I can say. And so I might say, please report status, and it will tell me it already has one Type 4 nuke. I say, I want more. I want more of that. So please build Type 4 nukes, and then they will go ahead and start doing that. And eventually they will send a message back that says, hey, we've got Type 4 nukes available.
Yep.
If you're looking for something specific, you can go ahead and report status from various bases, try and figure out, all right, so they've got 27 homing, they've got 1 P-Shock. So you can kind of figure out what you need.
Which one is best to go to.
And which one is best to go to. So, yeah, just tell everybody. Essentially, as comms, every spare moment you have, tell bases to make nukes. That's essentially your job. The other job that you have is taunting enemies. So I've got 2 enemies on my screen, and I can ask them to surrender. And we'll see what they say in response to that, if anything. I don't think they're going to say anything. Let me ask both of them to surrender. And yeah, I don't think
they might
don't
ignore
care.
you.
They don't care.
Usually got to taunt them a bit first.
So let's say we can taunt them with some of those. Aha! And then he says, need things back. That was very nice.
Yeah. Sometimes by doing the correct taunts, by communicating with your your science officer, you can learn things specifically about those ships and then use those
right next to us.
Yes, there is. Oh yeah, we should probably
do some of that.
I got him down there.
So let's see. Which one is that? 82?
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to keep asking him if he'll surrender while we're fighting him. And if he goes yellow...
Are you going to send anything in matter? I'm going to see if I can get behind him.
I've got auto beams. Let me see. So the captain is not married. So let me see if I have a taunt that goes directly to him. Like this one here. And then he says radio silence, which means he's not listening anymore, which means that he
might as well
no
just
longer... So. Oh, he actually did say something.
What did he say?
He said, you haven't beaten us yet, Slang. Alright, let me see real quick if I take down his shields...
His shields are already gone in the back, which is where we are.
Let me see if I've got one propulsion maneuver. I want to take out his weapons. Oh, bummer.
Hey, right.
I destroyed him. Unfortunate.
Let's see, I think we only have one more weapon. Have we gone over all the different...
I think we've gone over all the different stations, so more detail could be given. We didn't talk about storing engineering configurations.
You want to go over that quick or no?
Yeah, just real quick. So another comment on engineering. On the top left, you have several slots where you can go ahead. top right, thank you.
Yep.
You can go ahead and store different configurations. So if you have a combat configuration that boosts torpedoes and shields and drops everything else and puts coolant in, you can then store it in a particular numbered setting, and that way you can click on that number and get back to that quickly. So, a good engineer will have several of those set up and can just switch between them.
So you'll just move your guys here to whatever levels you want them to be at. You'll click store and then click that number, and that'll go right there.
So,
and then if I have a different configuration, then I click that same number, everything moves to exactly how I said it.
Dan, we are so close to actually defeating this one.
Should we just kill him for once in a video?
Yeah, we don't.
We've never actually finished in a video. All right, let's go.
I think that means that we took too much time, or because level 1 is that easy. But all right.
So, you never talked about how you unload a thing.
Oh yeah, if you have something in a tube that you don't want in a tube on the weapons, you can unload, and I'll demonstrate that in just a moment once something's actually loaded. Engineer, could you increase my torpedo loading speed, please?
Yeah, sure.
Right, there it goes. And then I'm going to
really
unload that one, and I'm going to fire that one, and then I'm going to get a nuke loaded. So the unload...
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Hey, we actually won one.
Woo! We did it!
So, very cool. Thank you for joining us. Hopefully that gives you a little bit more of an idea of Artemis, how it's played. Go check out our other podcasts where we actually play the game with a decent group of people.
Yep.
Have a lot of fun doing that. We're still a little bit mad about Josh killing all of our poor, underpaid damage control workers, but...
Oh, Jersey 2 sending a nuke right into the middle of a group of fighter pilots. But, it's fine. It's fine.
It happened. See you guys next time. Bye.
Do you not remember what it's caps lock is on?
Well, that would explain a lot.
See, I learned this from system troubleshooting. I know how to troubleshoot those things now.
Okay. Which makes me really kind of reminiscent of the real Star Wars or Star Trek. Oh boy.
You're going to get crap for that.
Oh man. Star Trek franchise.